I'm having instant borscht, and James is having asparagus soup, and he chose to drink his beet juice. I was leaving that up to him to decide whether he wanted to drink or
all of it.
mix it in with his soup.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm going to have to be careful.
Oh, I'm going to take off my skirt thing. I'm wearing bikini bottoms on the bottom, and I don't want to get beet juice on this. Yeah,
this is not a big striptease.
No, it's not. I just don't want to get beet juice all over my thing. It can sit over here. There. Anyway, you could just think this is like a mini skirt.
Yeah.
I brought this out so that I could tuck it in.
There we go. Yeah, it was a good idea to put this.
There we go. Because I'm very tired, and I don't want to have beet juice all over myself. Because we're in the middle of a heat wave right now.
Well, I think it's the start of it, but yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
if we get temperatures like they had in Lytton, BC yesterday, I don't know what we're going to do. Cause I think it got up to 46. Here, I think outside it might have got up to 32 or something like that.
But anyway, yeah, we haven't been sleeping well.
Not that well.
And
I've been sleeping better than you, I think.
And recently, I picked up a new viewer who was interested in the juicing side of things.
Oh, okay.
So
welcome
I thought,
to the club.
You can make a really fast and easy soup. You don't want to heat up the house in the summer.
Not a good idea, particularly in the summer.
You can make borscht or asparagus soup in a matter of 2 minutes, whatever it takes, maybe five to make. So all you do, you have to have you can put potatoes if you want. What I put is brown rice here, but you put some sort of a base in it, and I put minced up yellow peas, the dried yellow peas.
I like them pretty good.
Yeah. And so that's in there. So that's already cooked. So you already have your minced up beans or peas or whatever you're going to use for your protein. You have that already cooked and in the fridge, just waiting for you. And you have the rice already cooked and waiting for you. If you're going to use potatoes, you can have mashed potato. You can use leftover mashed potato that's already in the fridge waiting for you, leftover. But then what you do is you have your, in the case of the borscht, you have juiced about a cup of beet juice for this, and then you add water to make it so it's not quite so strong. And maybe a couple cloves of garlic minced up, and some dill, and salt and pepper, that's it. And for the asparagus soup, same thing with the peas and the rice, and then you juice the stems of your asparagus. You wouldn't have been eating them anyway, the ends that you break off. So you juice a bunch of that. Now, quite a bit to make that much soup, probably about 6 bunches of asparagus stems, the ends of them juiced up. And then you put your garlic and your salt and pepper and tarragon. And that's it. And how does it taste?
It tastes great.
It tastes great.
Yep.
And
it was a good idea to get rid of the beet juice in here too, because the taste overwhelmed that earthy taste of the beet. Yeah. Very good.
So it's very easy to make instant soup if you have a juicer, which is very healthy for you.
Well, I like asparagus pretty good. Stems, I don't mind the asparagus stems.
Yeah, but you never eat the ends. I break them off before I get them.
There we go. So it's a good
Nobody
idea
eats the
because
ends.
it's a good
They're
idea.
woody.
Yeah, they are. So it's a great idea because you wouldn't eat them otherwise.
So, you're going to talk more about Dianetics.
So I'll review a little bit. L. Ron Hubbard. Dianetics. That's not a Mormon name, L. Ron either. You know, it's L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes, the Mormons have some interesting names sometimes.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah. I like,
Very creative.
Yeah. I like some of the names in my mom's side of the family. First names like Edna, Velda.
But they weren't Mormon.
Asel. No, they weren't. Asel. That one. The poor
That's a
guy
good
must
name.
have got teased awfully.
Yes.
Good. And Everett. That means tough as a wild boar or something like that. I said Velda.
If you're naming your baby, James is giving you some tips.
Yeah,
today.
there you go. What to avoid nowadays, but who knows? And they might creep back into fashion.
Okay. We're
Anyway.
very tired.
Yeah,
Keep in
there we go.
mind.
Anyway, Dianetics, a modern science of mental health. They left up pseudo in there. So, I'd call it a pseudoscience. No. There are a lot of pseudosciences out there, including quantum physics and the theory of relativity. They're amazing. They're so medieval, it's not even scary. It's hilarious, just full of paradox. Anyway, this thing isn't so much full of paradox, but it's not, like how many pages? I think it's over 700 pages, including front and back material and stuff like that. And I can't recall there being a stitch of data in there. It's like testimonials. The one bit of data is every case it works. Yeah? 100%. They never said that.
That's great.
This guy's just a training
You
in
pick up some tips so that I can give you all my secrets and then somehow become Tom Cruise.
Yeah. So, there was a blurb from John Travolta in here and from Chick Corea. No Tom Cruise, a little bit of a surprise. No Beck. No, I don't know if I think he was raised a Scientologist, but
Maybe he wasn't converted to it at
fully
that
to
point.
it at that
when
point in time. It was around it was around sea change apparently
Yeah.
when he converted or reconfirmed or whatever. Got there. No Beck and no Black Flag. I guess his parents were in a punk group or something like that. Black Flag. Or one of his parents. Anyway, Beck's more important than all those people I mentioned before combined. I'm not saying that because he's my generation or anything like that. He's not.
No, he's not at all.
He's like 30 years on. 90s kind of guy, not a 60s. Of course, I'm not really a 60s kind of guy. I'm 70s. The music I tended to prefer in the 70s was 60s stuff. Anyway, no real science in here. We gotta have some data. So, the thing I want to stress is, I'm criticizing this religion. The big problem is not so much the theory, it's the practice. They're into stalking their critics and stuff like that. However, there are two belief systems nowadays that do way more than stalking. There's communism. Well, kind of like the second phase of it, there's two different interpretations of the misinterpretation of Marx, and I'm not that thrilled about Marx. That's an understatement for your information. So you know, it's kind of okay to criticize Putin. Although I know at least
Well,
a
it didn't
few-
work out for that Ukrainian. But I guess that was politics. That was a different matter. wasn't it?
Well, you know, like he's had people poisoned that didn't make it. So one dissident, what was his name? I think he would be Ukrainian, Litvinenko or something like that. I think that was something like polonium poisoning.
Yeah.
So he has a long reach. I think Putin figures he can touch anyone in this world. Reach out and touch them.
He has really big plans of world
I'm afraid so.
domination,
He's so clueless. Hey, Putin, laddie, buddy, you were put here to
There we
continue the dissolution of the Soviet Empire. You have no clue. You're monkeying around. What you should have done is allied with the West against the People's Republic of China. They are going to chew you up and spit
Well, I think
you
he-
out.
I think he has.
Allied with Western Europe?
No.
No.
Against China. He's allied with China.
Not really.
Why don't you think that?
Not in the long term. He might be working with them on this COVID thing. I don't know, but
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, you know, the funny thing about those sorts of world domination characters, you know, the dictators who want to take over, they always think, oh well, I'm the big shot. I'm going to be the one who's going to win. And I'm pulling the wool over the other dictators' eyes because, you know, they just don't know. They're delusional. I'm the one who's not delusional.
yeah, they're thinking I'm
They're
the shit.
all delusional.
Now, you know, it should be pointed out that Hitler was an exception. He actually kind of people were saying to him, you know, like, hey, you don't really have any interest in common with Mussolini, do you now? Because you got a bone of contention between you and him. He owns the South Tyrol, and it's German. And Hitler was saying, no, he's the one who started this movement, and fascism, that's slash Nazism.
Really?
I admire him. Oh yeah.
That's surprising.
What do you mean, that he started it, or
No.
Hitler was amazing that way.
Jeez.
That's where the Brits in particular didn't understand. I think lots of other Westerners, you know, oh, they'll never have anything in common. We don't have to worry about them aligning
Yeah.
because they've got this bone of contention over the South Tyrol. And the other thing is, you know, they have endless needs. You know, the whole world. They don't want to stop.
I gave the silk jacket to you, but now I'm using it to wipe my hands. I'm so sorry.
That's come up and watch. So, yeah, they've got endless needs. Anyway, you know, it's all kind of okay amongst the Fogosians to criticize Putin. A lot of them are secret admirers or fans. I don't know what it is. They're going around saying, well, you know, he does have a right to the Ukraine. Say what? Ukraine is a much larger population than Canada. It's got lots of resources and stuff like that. It can easily make it on its own, so long as Russia stays out of its business.
Yes, and well, it is its own country. It should be.
It should be its own country. Exactly right. Maybe it should be separate. Its boundaries are not the proper boundaries. They gave much of Poland to Ukraine.
Oh, I see.
That's to
Yeah.
make up for the huge hunk of the Ukraine that the Russians are squatting on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's messed up.
there are as many Ukrainians apparently in the Soviet Union Mark II as there are Russians in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
So they've colonized the eastern part of the Ukraine with Russians because the
maybe
eastern part
that's
is
how my
industrial.
grandma's family ended up in Poland. Maybe they were getting away from Russia taking over or something.
So that was in the 20s or something like that?
I don't know. They ended up coming over here, but
Out
before then,
in the late
my
20s.
grandma,
Yeah.
I think she was born in Poland, but
Mhm.
she says she wasn't Polish. She was Ukrainian.
There we go. There's been a lot
I
of
don't
mixture.
know. I don't know what happened, but somehow they ended up in Poland before they ended up here in Canada.
Well, Poland
My grandma's dead
Kind
now,
of.
so I can't ask her.
kind of didn't
That one.
exist until World War One. It's part of the Russian Empire, part of the Austrian Empire, probably part of the Prussian Empire too. Well, German Empire by that point in time. I have to check that out. So, after World War II, which is long after your grandma made it out of Europe, the Russians gave a huge hunk of Poland to Ukraine. Lemberg, or Lvov, or Lviv, as the Ukrainians call it. All those are approximate pronunciation.
But yeah, it's funny. Some people, they want to immigrate just with, like, their bodies. They want to take a little piece, or whatever. But they don't actually want to be a part of the society they're immigrating into. My grandma, the Ukrainian grandma, she was not that way at all. She really, I'd ask her if she could teach me Ukrainian, and no, you don't need to know that. You only need to know English. And she really never know. I mean, she listened to. She didn't do anything that seemed Ukrainian. She was totally. She really wanted to be Canadian, you know.
So there, actually, for her time period, that's to a large extent the way it was with the first generation.
Oh, really?
The problem was the second generation. There were a lot of grievances and stuff like that.
Really?
Third generation. Yeah.
Well, no one in my family seemed to. They were all Canadian. They were happy
I know.
to be. What?
Well, I'm just talking about patterns. Like when the grievances tended to arise, they tend to be second generation and later. Oh, like American
Is
Dream
that
is a
with
nightmare.
like when the male is the
Guy who
like
came
maybe
There might be a difference.
there might be a
that way.
difference that way,
Yeah, there might be a difference that way.
and it might be if whether the parents stayed together or not. That might be I don't know. I don't know what it's.
I think it still is somewhat of a pattern.
still
When
is.
you get secularists coming over from someplace, they kind of Fareed Zakaria. He might be second generation for all I know, but he kind of identifies with the system here in the United States, North America, here in North America. We're in Canada, but so there would still be that pattern, but it's a lot weaker now. You got people coming over and they've got a grievance, like you get people coming from Mexico.
Strange.
Well, I'm a Native American. I have a right to be here. Hey, I don't know if you're Aztec. Speaking Nahuatl, the Aztecs were imperializing in Mexico itself. The Mexicans themselves are imperializing the Mayans and stuff like that. Don't give me that. Like I'm part Indigenous American. I don't want you coming up here and squatting on everyone. Me in particular. You handle your problems down in Mexico.
Yeah.
You have no right to be up here.
No, America is a very big continent. To say, if your ancestors are from one part of America, it doesn't mean
That's like some
anymore.
idiot from Russia going to England and saying, hey, I'm a native European. I got a right to be here. No, you don't.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm a big fan of Putin and I want to support Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
And I.
No, it is funny, you were talking about on the radio last night. Apparently, there were gay people who had married to get citizenship, and
Oh my
they were
God!
saying,
OMG!
They were refugees, right? They're running away from
legitimate refugees.
Yeah, legitimate. If you're homosexual and you're coming from many cultures of the world, your life's in danger. You need to get out of and into a safe place. And so they were immigrating legitimate refugees, and then somehow they were
refugees.
They had this idea that there shouldn't be borders, and it's like, whoa, if there are no borders, there's nowhere for you to run to. Then the whole world becomes anti-gay or
you better
totally
believe it.
racist. There's so many really, really racist places in the world.
You better believe it.
Wow.
They all scaled down from Canada, and
Then you'd scale through maybe England, the United States.
yeah, like maybe third best in the world.
For being non-racist. So people are screaming about systemic racism. There's tons of places where it's systematic racism. You wrap your head around that systematic racism. I think I'm the one who didn't invent the concept. The concept's out there. The term.
All right. Boy,
Anyway, I want to.
Dynetics.
Yeah, I know.
Doing
but-
a bad job.
No, really.
Sorry.
We covered a lot of it yesterday. The
Okay.
thing I wanted to talk about was if it's okay to criticize this religion, it's okay to criticize every one of them. Just because the founder wasn't a person of color doesn't mean that he is open to criticism and anyone else is a person of color worshiping in some other religion or some other belief system. You don't get a free pass. Not here. I'm part Indigenous American, part African American, part South Asian, and lots of other things, European and borderline European combined. And so don't play the straw man and say, hey, you know, that guy's white. Yeah, I look white. You should have seen my relatives on my mom's side of the family. My mom was very fair. But I used to wonder, why is Uncle Kenny so dark? Why is Uncle Everett so dark? Why does Aunt Eddie have, why is she so dark, and why does she have curly hair? Yeah. That was curly hair was the African American showing up, and the dark was both African American and Indigenous American showing up. Dark, very dark. Yeah, no. Oh, Uncle Lloyd, he was incredible. Yeah, you know, and Velda and forgotten her name offhand. He was very nice. Anyway, they were a little bit lighter. It seemed as though the guys, Uncle Aso seemed to be pretty dark too. I've just seen him in pictures since he died in World War II, right at the end. So don't play that scene. You know, keep that to yourself if you're prejudiced against me because I'm white. Anyway, every religion's up for grabs. Every religion, every belief system. It's okay to criticize. You don't go around saying, "Oh, let's punish the people who practice the system just because they practice the system or believe in the system." It's particularly practice is a little bit problematic, to use a faux gauche word. You know, like if people are practicing female genital mutilation, they've got to be dealt with. You know, so you don't go around saying kill them all, but they should be put in jail for a long time. It should be a felony.
Yeah.
So no, preaching it. If you actually counsel someone to get it done, and they're underage or something like that, that should be, I said, at least a misdemeanor first time, probably a felony.
Yeah.
You know, but the actual practice, it's awful. So I want to make clear about free speech, because faux gauche, you faux gauches out there with your faux gaucherie, you don't believe in free speech. You know, you say you're for democracy, but you read anthropological stuff and sociological stuff. You're not. So just cut that out. Cut out the lying. I believe in pretty well total free speech, except for putting a contract out on someone. That includes fatwas. That should be basically, like if a mafia puts a contract out on someone, whatever penalty it is for that, it should be for putting a death penalty fatwa out on someone. When you rubber stamp something like that, like if I say, hey, gosh darn it, so and so should be killed, but you're not the one who originated it. It comes from a mafia boss. That should be a felony too. So you're hearing that, Cat Stevens, Joey Surrender. Hey, dude, you should be in jail now for what you were saying back in 1989, or soon after the fatwa that was put on Salman Rushdie, saying
maybe not now. I mean, that was a long time ago. He should have been put in jail then.
He should have been put in jail back then.
Yeah.
And nowadays what he says is it should be the guy should be killed, but legally. In other words, only in places where it's legal. So what should happen with him is he should be shunned right now. In other words, like I hear CBC interview.
Well, when people
Tom
say
Power,
something like that, I mean, and it's not it's not legal in our culture to. Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's saying he should be killed. If Muslims became the majority here and stuff like that, and they had Sharia law, he'd be saying, hey, you should be killed.
yeah.
So I heard Tom Power. I ordinarily like Tom Power. He's about the only regular on CBC that I like. He had a big long interview with him and stuff like that. Shameful. Tom, buddy, you're using our funds to the public's funds to basically proselytize or let him proselytize for things. He's an awful person. He always was stupid. I mean, he did kind of like childlike things that actually worked, like Moonshadow back in the day, but he's an awful, awful person. Rat Stevens. Wow. So here's what should happen, like with the Bible, where there are red letter editions of the Bible, basically the New Testament, where you've got the words of Jesus put in red. So
Why would that be?
just so Jesus actually said it according to the Bible. See what I'm saying? These are the words of Jesus.
Well, that is strange.
Red letter edition. You've never run across those?
No, I have not.
Anyway, what there should be, we won't say green for a particular reason, but let's say it's got to be garish. Let's say purple letter edition, like dried blood or something like that. So all this stuff, like Mein Kampf, should be published. It shouldn't be censored. It should be published, and it should be available to the public. But again, there should be a disclaimer, at least at the beginning of the book, and maybe every page. Every page that says anything in purple is offensive, like it's bad for democracy. It's nothing to do with
Yes,
nation.
maybe it should be that there's maybe internet links or something at the back of the book that every time you get to this part, there's a little number on it, and you can go to the end page.